Hello and welcome to We Women Want. This is our weekly show where we celebrate the winners. We talk about issues that need to be discussed that plague women of every day. Their everyday life issues, whether they can be regarding health, they can be regarding fashion, they can be regarding life choices, they can be regarding relationships. They all discussed over here. But today I have with me a very special guest. I have Pratibha Prahlad. She is of course a very well-known bharatnatyam dancer. She is also the founder and director of the Delhi International Arts Festival, a padmashree awardee and a Sangeet Natak Academy winner. But more than that, we are celebrating her professional life and also her personal life, because she is somewhat of a disruptor, someone who lives, and I'm quoting her, as she said once, life is all about choices and respect. And she's one who makes her own choices and has chosen to live her life with dignity. So welcome to this show, Pratibha. It's so good to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So Pratibha, a little bit about you, and you began dancing, I think, at the age of 4, Bharatnatyam, and you went on, you took it as a profession. That itself is something you pursued, which is not something, it wasn't like a legacy profession. That's
No.
something you began doing it yourself. You got international acclaim, you're a professional. You were also then noticed by the then Chief Minister of Karnataka, Ramkrishna Hegde, and later on you did get into a relationship with him. You have 2 children together, and you chose to be a single mother, and this was in the late 80s, 90s, I think the relationship began, at a time like that when today it is all normal, but you took on society, took on norms, and lived on your own terms. So that's a life I really would like to celebrate and congratulate for that.
I come from a family of academicians. So my parents, were both working, and I used to kind of be at home in the afternoons. And there was a dance teacher next to my house, not exactly next to my house, but on the same road, who used to teach.
This is in Bangalore.
In Bangalore, and I used to go and play in her dance school. So all the seniors used to like me, and her own teacher used to like me a lot. So there was a time when there was a performance, and some seniors forgot the item midway. So this older guru, his name was Lokaya. He said, "You ask that young girl, I'm sure she'll remember, what these people are supposed to do." They called me and they asked me to dance, and I did it. So he said, "See, I told you she's a natural dancer." So that was when my formal training began, and my mother did not even know for about 3-4 months that I used to go and play around over there. Wow. She thought I was playing around. She didn't know I was learning dance. It was only when that teacher asked me for 20 rupees, 10 rupees for the gedje, the selangai, or whatever you call it, kinkini, and 10 rupees for fees, that my mother knew that I was actually training.
Serious.
Yeah. My mother was a very different kind of a person. So I think a lot of what you've said, I should give credit to her, because she brought me up as an equal at home, equal opportunities. And then she always told me to speak my mind. She said, when someone talks to you, look at their eyes and speak. Don't look down and speak. Just look at their eyes and speak. These little things matter a lot, in life, because when this inequality that they show in the family between a boy child and a girl child, that kind of festers in the girl for a longer time, and kind of forms habits, I think, that she kind of later in her years, that she, it becomes habitual with her, the way she addresses men, the way she talks to them and stuff like that. And I think this was a very important lesson my mother taught me. And she said, you're not unequal, you're the same as everybody else. Speak your mind, never be afraid of anything. Just speak your mind, tell us what's happening, tell everybody what's happening or what you think. And I think that's a very good, lesson to learn, because I think every child should be told to speak her mind, to speak about everything, never to fear, never to fear. So I never knew what fear was, and especially fear from, society, gossip, the decade that you're talking about, 80s, 90s. What was the fear? The fear was about reputation. Right. I mean, quote unquote reputation. They would say, oh, she was a girl with a bad reputation, or somebody with a good reputation. My mother said, oh, reputation is just gossip. Wow. There's no, it's just like a hot air balloon. There's nothing, there's no reality to it. So you can ignore it.
Maybe I should have called, I would have loved to have met your mother.
My mother passed away, unfortunately, in 2001. Oh. Very young. She was very young. And I almost felt like my earth had given up, under me. So it was a very traumatizing kind of a period for me at that time. But my mother was my strength. She was my strength. And she stood by me throughout. She stood by me in all my choices that you spoke about, that I wanted to be a professional dancer. She only had one condition. She said, everybody in our family has a master's degree. So you should have a master's degree too. So in case you can't make it as a dancer, then you should be able to have another profession. So I said, okay. So I did my master's in mass communication, something you did not mention.
Something I did
So
not
I'm also a part journalist, something you did not mention. So I worked in newspapers, Deccan Herald, Times of India, Bangalore.
I know you write columns, but I did
Yeah,
not.
that was because I have a journalistic background. And I used to also come on television, Doordarshan those days, which just came into Bangalore
Okay.
in 84. So I used to make programs as contract producer, assistant producer contracts and all that for Doordarshan. So I got to know what happens behind the camera.
Also.
And what happens, when you're a producer, assistant producer, in addition to what's happening in front of the camera. So I think it's a learning process. And much later, when I became a professional dancer, I think that a lot of my experience in communication, in journalism and media, stood me in good stead. I mean, it kind of actually helped me have a different kind of a persona, a different kind of a personality. So people looked at me differently, not like they look at a regular dancer, like a classical dancer.
Which is true, because I've seen, I think you're very expressive in the way you communicate also, in dance is also a form of communication, and of course the formal communication or journalism. So I've in fact sought your views on a lot of current topics also. But today one reason I've called you here is also to speak about, your story. And I said, I'm so happy that you agreed to come, and if you could, if I could just push you a bit, but to share with us what you went through at that time. You were, I think, very young when you met, and the Chief Minister noticed you. He noticed you professionally, and initially it was all a professional relationship, and then how it all went on, and the dilemma that you faced.
Yeah, so that was a period. I mean, I told you I was doing mass communication, right? So in BS communication, which is like a postgraduate degree, but a one-year degree, 14 of us were failed in a class of 20.
Oh my God.
And all girls. Because one particular professor hated us. He called us upper caste girls who will never take up journalism as profession, who are here as dilettantes, wasting time, taking away the seats, precious seats from everybody else and stuff like that. So this caste story had started in Karnataka then.
Okay.
Though he made it out to be like class, he also called me and a few others upper caste Brahmin girls and things like that. So we went to court, against the professor, because that was a time when even revaluation was not possible without the VC's interference. And the VC did not give permission. So the Chief Minister was Mr. Hegde.
Okay.
And in the meantime, we started getting a lot of threats. Two of us who were in the forefront of this whole, I mean, all the 14 of us filed the case, but two of us used to kind of, be more vocal in the forefront and stuff like that.
You've always been a fighter.
Yeah, I've been a fighter. So we started getting death threats, meaning we'll throw acid on your face, we'll do this to you, we'll do that to you, kind of a thing. Very young, 21. So we wrote to the Chief Minister.
No less.
We said we need protection and that this is happening to us. I think he sent that letter to the Education Minister, because the Education Minister then called us, Raghupati, who also passed away last year. So he called us, he spoke to us, he wasn't very convincing. Then I knew the Culture Minister because I was always Jiraj Alva, who at that time was a young kind of a minister and who was there in every cultural thing, met him. So anyway, we won this case and we won all the papers. We ensured that our journalism, came to good use. So all the seniors in our, department of mass communication, we approached them. We said, this is our story. So everybody said, fine, so we'll write about it. Every paper had us in the, in the news. Like 14 girls failed in mass communication for the first time, and my name was there.
And took on the system.
Took on the system. They're fighting the court case, and this is wrong. So everybody was pro us. Everyone I'm talking about. All the newspapers. So people noticed us. Obviously, they noticed. And then I think I was a national program of dance, and Mr. Hegde was in Delhi. At that time, I was in Bangalore, and the program got beamed on national television. And I think I was the first dancer from Karnataka to come on national program of dance. You know, you need to get a grade. It's some from B grade you go to A grade, and only a A grade dancer gets to appear on national television and things like that. So that's how it happened. And he happened to see my performance on television. He said he just put it on, and it was coming, and he wasn't really paying attention to it till a Kannada padam, which is a very popular padam, you know, started, you know, he started listening to music and said, who's dancing this? So then he saw me, and then he realized that I was from Bangalore, that I must have been the same person who was in the papers, you know, fighting this mass comm case, but he wasn't sure. So he asked his staff to call me to find out who I am from the local one and call me. So anyway, I don't know whether they didn't call me. They gave my number to Mr. Hegde. So one day we got a call, landline, of course. My mother picked the call, and my mother said, I think Mr. Ramakrishna Hegde wants to talk to you. So we were all sitting there, you know, my father and my brother. So my brother said, sure. It's like Queen Elizabeth wanting to talk, wants to talk to me, mom, kind of a thing. Yeah. What do you say?
Tell me another one.
So I said, okay, so let's see. So I went and spoke to him, and it was him. He was calling me from Delhi to tell me that he loved Jagadodharana. That was the piece. It was Purandarasa's Padam. He said, I loved it. It danced so beautifully. And then he asked me whether I was the same, girl who had fought this vice chancellor, for mass communication case. I said, yes, I am. He said, I should meet you. I'm coming to Bangalore next week, so I'd like to meet you. So that was how it began. Initially, he used to call me for dinners to his house with all the other people like Girish Karnad and U.R. Anantamurthy and, Kadri Shamanna, and all those people, Chandrasekhar Kambar. And I used to go and sit there. I wasn't really very vocal. I was the youngest of them all, and I was really not sure what I was doing there in that kind of a crowd. And people were kind of very indulgent towards me also, like M.S. Satyu and all of them. Then M.S. Satyu took me and for a serial he was making.
Oh.
Yeah, so I did that also. I was the heroine of that serial.
Wow.
Along with Anant Nag, who was a very popular actor at that time. Shankar Nag, you must have heard of Anant Nag, Shankar Nag. Anant Nag became a minister also later. So I did a series with him, like a 13-episode series. It was called Shruti. Midway, Satyu and I fell out, and so we kind of changed the hero and, that kind of a thing. Anyway, but it was a very, very popular, top of charts kind of a series on a dancer's life. So initially, no, but around 87, 88, he took more interest in me, and I performed in India International Center in Delhi. I was invited for a performance. He had come for the performance. And I think that was when our relationship actually kind of started. And like you said, yes, there was a lot of gossip.
I am sure.
A lot of gossip, a lot of talk around us, a lot of sniggering, a lot of name calling, a lot of, what do you say? I mean, you kind of brand people as XYZ.
You were branded as a gold digger, and
I was branded as I don't know, like a flower girl maybe, who was a gold digger, not gold digger, because Mr. Hegde never had the gold, but but I think they thought that that he was going to help me in my career, but he really did not, because that was not the person he was, and I was already well known in Karnataka. It was not like I was a upcoming kind of a person, because I was in the national program of dance, and that's how he saw me.
Correct.
So I was already well known. And then he gave up his chief ministership and he started the Janta Dal. So I was there throughout that phase.
When he fell out of VP Singh.
He fell out. I mean, initially he kind of resigned because of, the Reva Jitu case and the phone tapping. It was such a silly thing to resign on, the phone tapping. I mean, somebody accuses you of tapping a phone and the chief minister resigns. It's unheard of. These days you can do anything. Nobody resigns for anything. So, yeah, he resigned on that, and Mr. Bommai became the chief minister. And Mr. Hegde said that he would, that he wanted to find a national alternative to the Congress party. because those days, you know how it was. Apart from the brief Janata Party rule with Morarji Desai and all, really wasn't a
Yeah,
national
the BJP was
opposition.
still not coming up.
No,
Yeah.
no. BJP was very, very, in its
Fledgling.
nascent kind of a stage. I think for the VP Singh government, the BJP gave outside support. They didn't want to even join the government. I think they had 2 MPs, or not even that, I think, or maybe 2, I don't know. I'm not even sure.
2 MP they are.
No, I
They had 2 MPs.
maybe 2 MPs. Maybe Mr. Advani and Mr. Joshi. I don't even remember. Just 2. So that was the time, and then VP Singh used to come to our house a lot, in Firozshah Road, and then the other parties, Mr. Devilal, Mr. Sompal, and all these people who Mr. Lalu Prasad Yadav,
All the
these
National
people,
Front,
all the
yeah.
National Front, those days National Front people used to come a lot to our house, and I used to be around. So a lot of people I used to know would laugh and say, "You have the balcony view."
I know, that's true.
Oh, what's happening?
Yeah.
In national politics. So, and it was very interesting for me. So I saw it all. I saw it all
very
firsthand.
heady.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a quick break, but we're going to keep the conversation going, so stay with us. Hello and welcome back to We Women Want. We are in conversation with Pratibha Prahlad, her life, her times and her story. We were talking about the 80s when you were with RK Hegde, and you also decided to have children with him. You had and that you said because you wanted to be a single mother. It was again by choice, and I really want to recall what your mother told you. Never be apologetic of your choices. Meet life head on, looking straight in the eye. And what made you decide to be a single mother? Wouldn't have been an easy decision.
No, it wasn't easy at all because, again, like I said, we went to a lot of stories. Like Mr. Chandrasekhar became the Prime Minister. We used to know him also pretty well, very, very close. And then, the Narasimha Rao government came. And so mid-90s was a very kind of a turbulent time for Mr. Hegde. If you remember, there was Deve Gowda episode when we won Karnataka, but then Mr. Deve Gowda came here, met Mr. VP Singh and told him that he had the majority of whatever support in the state. So overnight, without even having a kind of a meeting, they kind of decided that Mr. Deve Gowda is going to become the Prime Minister. And what did Mr. Deve Gowda do? The first thing he did after becoming Prime Minister was he expelled Mr. Hegde from the party that he started. Right? So he was expelled because Mr. Lalu Prasad Yadav was the party president, and I'm sure that Mr. Deve Gowda prevailed upon him to expel Mr. Hegde, and he did. So that was the lowest point in Mr. Hegde's career. I mean, I was on the rise,
correct,
in my career, but his was the lowest point. So I took a step back. I was there with him, and we kind of conferred on a lot of things. And he started the Lok Shakti party.
Okay.
Yeah, it was called Lok Shakti. Initially, he started a non-political party forum called Rashtriya Navnirman Vedike, and a lot of people joined that forum. And then it kind of got converted to Lok Shakti. They contested the elections. And we won 3 MPs at that time, which is a good thing if we had continued, because considering that Janata Dal S did not even have 2 municipal corporators after Mr. Deve Gowda, gave up his prime ministership, this was actually pretty good. But anyway, then it was Vajpayee's time. So Mr. Vajpayee called Mr. Hegde, and the 13-day government that fell and all that happened because he did not have a secular image. Not Mr. Vajpayee per se, but the Bharatiya Janata Party. So the Bharatiya Janata Party needed credible faces. And one of the most credible faces was Mr. Ramakrishna Hegde's, because he was a known humanitarian, a known, like a non-partisan kind of a person. He was not an extremist either which way. And he was a very good, he had shown what good governance and what value-based politics was all about. So Mr. Vajpayee called Mr. Hegde and asked him to, align with him. And Mr. Hegde was in 2 minds. I was the one who actually pushed him to do that, to join with the NDA.
Okay.
Because I felt also very betrayed. I mean, he felt betrayed, of course. But the same people, again, this Janta, whatever,
Yeah.
that had that kind of split into small parties. So everybody had their own parties now. So I
Oh,
said
fair
that
enough, huh?
experiment had thing. So the reason I'm telling you this is because it was in 1998 that I had my children, and it was the same year that he became the Commerce Minister of India.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Hegde.
Yeah.
So he asked, so when I told him that I was going to have the children, he was like, oh my, I mean, like
Yeah.
he was just coming out into like becoming the commerce
Mainstream national,
minister
yeah, politics.
and politics, and we don't know what the backlash was going to be. And I was here, and I wanted to have my children. So I said, no, don't worry. I'm the mother, and I'm not going to mention anything to anybody, but I'm going to have the children. So that's how I chose to become a single
mom,
mother.
literally. Yeah.
And till he gave up his ministership and he kind of came out of it, we did not even mention anywhere that he was the father of the children. But he himself insisted. When the children had to go to school, when they were 2.5, 3 years old, he said, no, I have to sign those forms. I have to sign, and I'm the father, and I have to sign that I'm the father. So he signed in the school admission forms
So
as
he
the
also
father.
reciprocated your faith and trust by
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
that. I
Oh,
think
he
that,
was an
yeah.
extraordinary man. Extraordinary man. I mean, very, very, very special. Very different, very special.
Otherwise, you would not have made such a difficult choice. I think it's easy because,
Yeah.
which is interesting what you had to go through today. We do a show, we ask young women what their choices are. They even say children and then marriage, because you can have children, but it wasn't so easy then.
No, I was ahead of the curve.
You were very much ahead.
A lot of people said that to me also, that I was ahead of the curve. So I took a lot of backlash, a lot of criticism, a lot of talk. But like I said, my mother stood by me, my father stood by me.
That's
My
very important.
family stood by me. So nobody really in my family, I mean, they didn't ask, they didn't excommunicate me or something and ask me to leave. So, and then I had trust and faith in Mr. Hegde. So there was no way that I was going to, waver. I mean, I never had even an inkling of doubt. And I think even today, when I think about it, I think the best decision I made was to have my boys, because they're really beautiful boys,
Yes, I've seen their
understanding,
pictures.
smart boys, and they understand a lot. They're very smart. They're very kind of wise for their age. And I think they understand a lot better about life and its realities than most other boys of their age. So,
That's true. They
yeah.
must. And in fact, did they ever ask how old were they when they were aware, or when you explained things to them?
So initially, they were very, very close to Mr. Hegde. In fact, he used to take care of them a lot whenever I traveled.
Okay.
He used to be with, he even bathed them and all that.
So totally
Fed
hands-on
them,
dad.
bathed them. I mean, he used to tell me that he's never done this for anybody. I mean, not even like for anybody. And he says, first time I'm doing it. So, but he loved them, and he was kind of crazily in love with them, much more than I was, I think. And when he passed away, they were 6 years old. So they didn't really realize what was happening. But I was there, and then I had to go through a lot. It was after he passed that, all the worms, not just the creepy crawlies. I mean, the creepy crawlies come anyway.
Yeah,
But all, like I say, the minor dushtas, the major dushtas, everybody, was like hands-on in their fight against me. They kind of, came after me. So yeah, it was a very, very difficult time. Very, very difficult to be alone. I had lost my mother also, remember? By then,
you were
I'd
really
lost my
alone.
mother, and then he passed away 3 years later. Exactly 3 years, 2.5 years later. After my mother passed away, he passed away. So 2004 for me was an extremely kind of a trial by fire kind of a year, It was very hard. And I think I kind of, went through it by God's grace. It only divine grace, I'm telling you, because most people, and then a lot of friends that I had in Delhi, they stood by me. So it's one of the reasons I chose Delhi as my place of stay for the children to, go to school was because Delhi seemed more accepting, more open, more non-judgmental,
Very nice.
and friendlier, and gave me a lot of respect, much more than Bangalore politicians would have at that time. But tables have turned now. The Bangalore politicians, whenever they meet my sons, they say, "Lot of respect to your mother. Please convey our respects to your mother." So they've kind of, over time, learned to respect me.
No, I am glad because really, you live by you said the thing and you live by the bar, and you said I'm living choice and respect, and you live both. Just one, in fact, one last question. We are out of time, but are you interested in politics?
Yes, I am. Very much so, because it's been part of my life for 40 years.
You had the balcony view, as you said.
And like I said, and I knew everybody personally. In fact, a lot of times they would even ask me what I thought about it. They say, let's hear Pratibha's point of view, because we are too involved, kind of a thing. Let's say, what do you think of? And I would tell them what I thought about it. Yes, I'm very interested, but all these years I did not do it because I wanted my children to finish their studies. And like you said, how did they react, you asked me. That's an important question. So I didn't want others telling them what our story, basically, right? So I wanted to be the one to tell them. And I wanted to tell them at the right time, when they were mature enough to understand, why I made those choices and why I lived by those choices. So, so I was waiting for them to go to college, finish college. Now they're okay. So, and they understand a lot more than they did when they were younger, I think. So I was waiting for that period to go, to get over. So now I'm ready. Yes, I am. And I also have a lot of experience in the way ministries function. Again, from the back door kind of a thing, perspective. Yeah. So I think I'd like to be in politics. Yes.
So you heard it here first. I'm going to follow your career very closely, because Pratibha Prahlad is some person you don't take lightly. She's a woman who lives on her own terms, and eventually she's got the respect that she wants. That she's, I think, that's the main thing. Respect is not what you want. I think you just live life on your terms. And
I think respect is what you get when you learn to live on your own terms and learn to respect your choices. I mean, not waver. After making those choices,
stay by them. Believe in yourself, and then I think the world will believe in you.
Yourself is the
courage of your convictions. Is what I should have said. But also very interesting. I'm not very, avid thing of bharatnatyam. I don't understand much, but I do know that your depiction of Sita has been very unlike the traditional depiction of Sita. It's not some helpless woman, but someone who's feisty and who fights, and that's exactly who you are. And that's the kind of woman we want to celebrate on our show. So thank you so much for coming here and sharing your story.
Thank you so much, Priya. I enjoyed talking to you. Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.